Hey there, survivors! How's it going? I'm your host, Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another Friday the 13th video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some awesome pieces of Friday the 13th history, but first I want to go ahead and apologize for the AC. It is really hot in Mississippi still, so I'm going to leave the AC on while I'm shooting a couple of videos. Hopefully it will cool off soon enough though, because right now this is what it feels like. And real quick, before we look at today's items, I want to go ahead and show you guys this. I didn't notice it whenever I did the original video, but recently I acquired a screen used mold lineage Part 7 Jason bust and one of these Red 7 hockey mask prototypes. However, I didn't notice when I initially had it that this actually used to be signed by Kane Hodder. I found some pictures online of this actual prototype where it was signed on the forehead by Kane, and after looking at it closely at an angle, you can actually still see the marks where Kane signed. It's kind of like a phantom signature at this point. But I have no clue why somebody would remove the signature from this, other than maybe they did intend to actually have it fully finished like a proper hockey mask, and then I guess they backed out because clearly it was never finished. Otherwise, I don't know why you would remove Kane's signature from it, but you can still kind of see it. I don't know if I'll be able to get it on camera, but I do still have a photo of it when it was signed. Anyways, moving on into today's awesome Friday the 13th pickups, we have something that actually was released pretty recently. As many of you may know, unfortunately, recently artist Bill Terazakis passed away, and shortly thereafter, they had to liquefy his entire studio pretty much. If there was a silver lining to this entire situation, it's that some of the actual molds and original production materials and stuff like that from some of the amazing films that Bill worked on have become available to the public. There's been a few just like actual screen use props and stuff like that that came out of his estate sale, but like I said, an absolute massive amount of molds, and all the pieces that we're going to be taking a look at today came directly out of Bill Terazakis' original molds. So with some of the previous stuff that we've looked at, those were recasted either once directly off of the screen use prop or production piece, or in some cases, like the Jason Goes to Hell hood, they would have made a master of it and then molded that so it would have shrank 2 sizes. All of these are true to size original mold pieces. So these did come directly out of the original molds, so there should be no loss of tiny details or size or anything like that. Alright, I think I've given enough context as to what these are and kind of where they've come from, so let's go ahead and actually take a look at these pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and start with, I guess, the most interesting one, the hockey mask. Here we have a modern day pull of the Hero Freddy vs. Jason hockey mask that was made out of Bill Terazakis' mold. These were produced via Josh Ludeman and Sean Clark. Sean Clark actually did obtain the mold for this, as well as several other pieces from Bill's estate, and he's offered a few of those pieces so far, a couple of which we'll take a look at today. But they did a limited run of 20 of these cast in gray resin, as you can tell, and they were produced through Josh, and they are pretty freaking awesome. Now I want to give you all a little bit of history on these hockey masks. So as many of you Friday the 13th superfans know, a majority of the hockey masks that were used in the series all have lineage to one another in one way or another. There are a couple exceptions, but this one in particular actually does have lineage to a Part 6 mask, particularly through a recast that was done by Justin Mabry. Justin was the first person to recast a screen-used Part 6 mask back in the day, and those were produced through Gates of Hell Studios, which Justin actually owns the molds to those, and they were also produced through Horror Hockey Masks, HHM. And the Horror Hockey Masks version is the one in particular that ended up making its way to Bill Terazakis and was used during the production of Freddy vs. Jason, and was actually pretty much used to create this. You can actually look at the surface of the mask, and there are many different imperfections that are present on those Part 6 masks, and you can actually make out some faint details like the very, very faint outline of the chevron. You can actually see the axe mark where that's been cleaned up and covered up. You can see some other spots as well, and it's just really interesting to notice all the history in the mask. On one side over here, you can even make out a vent hole that was pretty much covered up and then moved upward. And you can actually notice a lot of details lineage-wise on the Part 7 mask to other masks as well. But This one in particular has lineage to the Part 6, which also has lineage to a Part 3 mask. So this one pretty much goes all the way back to the beginning. It's just been slightly retooled, reshaped, and recasted a few times. Personally, I love the shape of the Freddy vs. Jason hockey mask, and as far as anything screen-used mold lineage or anything like that, that was actually kind of the first thing I had through the NECA version of this, which actually does match up to this for the most part. However, they are a bit smaller, and I think there's also some like bits of the edge that are trimmed off, so it's not 100% the same thing, but this is. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but this is number 8 out of the mold, and let's go ahead and take a look at the COA. It says, this blank pull of Jason's iconic hockey mask from the 2003 film Freddy vs. Jason was cast directly from special makeup effects artist Bill Terzakis' screen-used movie mold. This mold was purchased from his family auction in 2022 after his untimely death in 2021. The mold is now in the private collection of Sean Clark, who has allowed a small number of castings to be made for collectors. Number 8 of 20, and then it's signed by Josh and signed by Sean Clark. Now, for any of you who are watching this and wondering, the original run of these is long sold out. They sold out almost instantly. However, if you do want basically a screen-used mold, screen-accurate Freddy vs. Jason mask, Josh does offer 3D scanned versions of these. So it's not technically cast out of the original mold, but he does have 3D scanned versions, and I believe they have like the clawed version, of course, when Freddy claws up the mask, and I believe he's either working on or at this point has finished the fully damaged version. So those will still have lineage to the original, it's just not directly cast out of the mold. So if you want one of those, I recommend going and hitting up Josh. Something else that also does pertain to the hockey mask, and the next piece of course, are these eye inserts. Should be like this, but these are Jason's eye inserts from Freddy vs. Jason, obviously. These are cast in silicone and completely unpainted, just raw casts. I don't recall if these were limited runs or not, but regardless, I have a set here, and I do believe that Josh is still offering them. So if you want accurate eye inserts, either for your cosplay or for your display, he does offer those as well. And next up we have the biggest and possibly coolest piece because of just how it presents itself. This is a casting out of the screen-used mold for Jason's cowl. However, this is apparently the stunt cowl version. This particular version seems to match Glenn Ennis's, which Glenn is one of the stuntmen who played Jason at several points throughout the film, most notably through that famous cornfield scene where he's on fire. There's some awesome behind-the-scenes footage of that, as well as, I'm sure if you've seen the movie, everybody remembers that scene. It's so freaking awesome. A lot of really goofy stuff in that scene, but the Jason burn and then seeing him enter the party was one of the coolest scenes in the movie, in my opinion. But this is just super, super cool. As far as differences between this and the hero version, I don't really know what they are. I've tried to look in the film, and it seems like a lot of the details match up pretty closely. Hopefully somebody can let me know in the comment section down below if there are any differences. Maybe they're just resized or slightly retooled, but overall, this one was sold as a stunt mask casting, and I know that there were for sure several different molds available. I think Sean actually did end up with the hero mold as well, and some copies of that were offered through Kyle. They also had the mold for Freddy's decapitation scene, so they've done some busts pre-decapitation as well as the severed heads of Fred. But we're talking about this copy here. These are cast in latex and foam filled by Nathan Stafford, and he only offered, I think, 13 of these. Was that correct? Yes, 13. So these were very, very limited. The foam filling on them was perfect. The casting on them is really, really nice. Good seam work, really no complaints whatsoever. The price on them as well was very, very affordable. When the initial run was being offered, these were being sold for really around the price that some people charge for replicas. Of course, it is a blank and not a fully finished piece, but still, with the history that it has, that is a very, very reasonable price. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money to grab one of these when the initial run was up. And just like the hockey masks, this does come with a COA. It has a picture of the inside and outside of the mold as well as a casting. And it says, this certificate guarantees that the accompanying item is a genuine first-generation casting pulled directly from a stunt mold that was used during the production of Freddy vs. Jason 2003. The mold is obtained directly through the liquidation of Bill Terzakis' shop, WCT Productions, after his passing in 2021. This casting is one of 13 pulled from the mold and offered to collectors before the mold's permanent retirement. And then it's numbered number 7 of 13, and of course signed by Nathan Stafford. And being that there's only 13 of these, at most, at least for this time, only 13 people could have this full set that I have together with the actual eyes and the hockey mask and everything fully present. So I'm very, very happy to have this set. I really appreciate Ryan working out this deal with me on this. And now the only question is, do I go ahead and have this entire thing painted and finished up to be the most accurate, awesome Freddy vs. Jason bust possible? Or do I leave them blank for the historical value of what they are? On one hand, I like kind of having them blank because it's almost like having prototype toys and stuff like that where they're never colored and, you know, it's typically just tan, gray, which is what these pieces are cast out of. Or do I go ahead and fully finish it? I'm definitely back and forth on what to do because they're so rare and so cool, but let me know your opinion in the comment section down below. I want to give a massive thank you to Ryan Truhaft for selling me this entire set for a very reasonable price. The eyes, the hockey mask, and the head in one full package. And I also want to give a massive thank you to Sean Clark, Josh Ludeman, and Nathan Stafford for making these pieces available to the public. Even if it's in a very small run like this, I'm just really happy that some people had the opportunity to get some of these things because this is truly amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. A lot of really, really cool history here, especially with that hockey mask. I bet many of you watching did not know that the original Freddy vs. Jason hockey mask actually linked back to the history of the Part 6. So hopefully you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I love you all. Thank you for watching and see you next time.